Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Thanks for willing to do this.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I can of course start from the beginning and ask what made you want to pursue acting or voice acting in general when you were up in Oregon.
Sure. So I've always been interested in acting ever since I was 6. My parents took me to a musical, and ever since watching it, I was like, I'm going to be an actor. At the age of 6, I knew what I wanted to do. And then I sort of was involved with theater throughout my childhood and high school. And then when I was 14, I discovered online voice acting and was like, oh, this is a thing. Like, you can do this. And then I just sort of, did indie projects here and there. And it wasn't until 2016 that I decided that I wanted to do it professionally. And so I took a class in LA. I went back home to Oregon and I was like, I needed to move to LA. And so then Uh, 2 years later, my husband and I packed up all of our stuff and moved to LA the same week we got married.
Oh,
So, uh, yeah, it was fine for us, but I don't recommend that for people who have who get stressed because it was kind of stressful. But yeah, that's kind of how I started.
and what was the timeline prior to that where you were living in Japan?
Oh yeah. I lived in Japan for 2 years. The first year was sort of a leap year between graduating high school and going to college. And I lived in Yamagata-ken, which is sort of on the inside of Japan, facing Korea. And they have really delicious cherries and apples. And it's called Yamagata because it's surrounded by mountains, because Yamagata means mountain shape. And it was so beautiful. Um, and it was a wonderful experience because I actually went to high school there for a year, and I remember a really funny experience. So they had English class, right? And
Yeah.
so they asked me to read, the English passage in the book out loud. And I remember when I started reading, everyone was like, "Oh, whoa!" I was like, "Yes, I speak English," but it was just really funny because I had never experienced that before. And then the second time I went to Japan was actually my junior year of college. I went to Tokyo, and that's where I had most of my formal Japanese training because when I lived in Yamagata, it was kind of like, learn or be stuck and not understand anything. And I actually forgot English when I came back from that first year.
Oh,
Um, yeah, it was really weird because I remember being like, "Hey, mom, I'm going back to school in ninth month, right?" And she was like, "You mean September?" I was like, "Oh, yeah, right," because that's how they count. It's a lot easier. Their number system makes much more sense. We have like January, February, March. They're like first month, second month, third month. It's a lot easier in my opinion. But yeah, Japan like really influenced my childhood and growing up. The first anime I ever watched was Inuyasha. So to be a part of that series, 20, 18 years later, just blows my mind. Like I would have been happy being a tree in the background,
yeah.
but be like an actual named character that's connected to the main group. Like I'm never gonna get over that.
And which voice actors like inspired you the most early on?
Definitely Kira Buckland. She is like actually the reason I found voice acting because I found her indie projects online,
Yeah.
and she was the reason that I even knew voice acting from your home was possible. So she's been a really big influence on me. Also, Laura Bailey and Sandy Fox.
Okay.
Laura Bailey's just amazing because she has such nuanced reads that I really admire. And then Sandy Fox is just so nice. And I had the chance to meet her at AX one year, and she was just so nice. So it was really, really great to meet her.
And I did read too that you studied with Julie Madalena.
Yeah, I love Julie. Julie's a sweetheart. She totally gets me because we kind of have like similar voices, and
Hmm.
like similar experiences, except she's like really short and I'm really tall. So it's like really cute. I love Julie. If anybody ever wants to take classes with her, or if you ever get the chance to work with her, she's amazing. She's sweet. I love her.
And so when you did get to LA, what was the first any kind of paid voiceover job that you got?
I was a part of this little fun Netflix series called Hero Mask, and I played Girl O2. And she kind of looked like a miniature version of me when I was a kid. She has like these little pigtail things. And I remember being so excited because even though, you know, she didn't have a name, but it was like, that's my voice coming out of the character. So that was pretty cool. The first that was my first anime one. But my very first role that I ever booked was this little toy thing. I don't know. Kids toys are interesting. So it's like a cat and a car, but then there's like a scrubby looking thing that is driving it. I don't know, but it's a Shopkins car.
Oh,
I'm part of this sort of like animated music video for Shopkins, and the character's name was Puff Rusher. So that was the very first role that I ever booked after moving here.
and what was would the first like major or any sort of major anime role be an SAO?
I was part of Grand Crest War,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think the Fizel was probably the role that was like the most mainstream, that had probably the most recognizable name. Yeah.
And would Daphne and Ray Zero been a little bit around the same time?
That was actually a lot longer after. English
Okay.
is hard. This is why I have wonderful people who write scripts for me, because talking is hard. Um, but yeah, Daphne was, let's see, that was last year, I think.
Oh, okay.
End of last year, I think. I don't know. COVID time kind of blends together. Maybe it was earlier this year, and I think it was last year.
Well, I guess it's kind of a general question, but even if there's like emotional or darker characters, do you always find something to relate to in them?
Um, so what's interesting for me is that I find, at least for me, there's like two different types of dark characters. There's like the dark that's like I'm having fun and being mischievous, and that's the like driving force, as opposed to I hate people and I want to kill them. There's like a
Yeah.
kind of distinction between the two. Normally, I'm actually cast as like the kind that's like, oh, I'm gonna be mischievous and have fun, and so the energy of that is a little more playful, more childlike. So I mean, I don't want to give away spoilers because I don't know when this is going to come out, but there was a certain character that I played that was actually I went to kill people, and that was actually really hard for me because I had to dig really, really deep to get to something similar. Um, so yeah, that was probably the hardest role that I've had to play, was the one that wanted to kill people.
Well, that was actually it was on the same since on the same topic. I was gonna bring up Nana and like how if there was any like major difficulty getting in her headspace.
Yeah, she's interesting. Um, like actually when I got the email, I was really sleepy because I didn't get a lot of sleep the night before. Um, and so I was like, I'm gonna sleep in. So then when I woke up and I read the email, I was like, this is a dream. This is weird. So I had to show it to my husband, and I was like, does this say what it says? He's like, yes. I was like, oh. And then I was really confused. That happens every time I get cast in a role, is I'm very confused. Kind of a surprise every time it happens. There's only been like 3 characters where I was like, probably have a good shot at that one. But other than that, I'm always surprised. So I was very surprised when I booked Nana. She's interesting because I don't want to give away spoilers, but it's kind of hard to talk about the character without giving away spoilers. So spoilers for Talentless Nana. So like she has her like sweet, soft, like, oh, I'm so, innocent, don't mind me. And I played those types of characters quite often, so that was very comfortable for me. But her darker side, that was really hard because I don't know, I don't really personally, I don't like hold grudges toward people, and
Okay.
I've never ever felt like I wanted to get revenge on someone or hated them to the point where I was like, I want to kill you. So that was like really hard for me to get into that headspace. But I thought if someone like maybe killed my parents or my husband, then I got kind of close. But I leaned more heavily on the aspect of her thinking that everyone around her was stupid.
Yeah.
And sort of having this like superiority kind of like, oh, I'm better than everyone else, because that was a little bit easier to lean on than killing people, just because I've also played like those types of characters and before, and it's also really fun to play characters that kind of have that air of because it's a voice acting is a wonderful space to play those types of characters, because you're not actually hurting anybody if you play a character that hurts someone in the show. So it's a very good release, especially for people who are more passive or find it hard to be assertive in life. So it's really fun to play snarky characters and characters that are smart.
And what were your thoughts as the series progressed and got more intense? Obviously, what was your thoughts on her character arc?
The whole time I kept thinking, why do all these people not realize what she's doing?
Right.
She even switched, like in the same episode, I think it was like episode 2, someone asked her, oh, you can read mine? She's like, yeah, I can always hear people's thoughts. And then like an hour later, she's asked the same question and she's like, oh, it comes and goes. And I'm like, that's an inconsistency. So that's what I kept thinking the whole series was, how come these people don't know what Nana's doing? It's very obvious. I found like she's a very layered character. In the beginning, I kind of played her more like, oh, like cute and evil. But then as I progressed, it was more like, oh, she is that soft cuteness, but it's been torn away from her so that her sweetness is not so genuine anymore. Like she wants to be that way, but things have happened in her past where she feels like she doesn't deserve that kind of happiness, and also like it's harder for her to access because it's kind of like a dead part of her. So her happiness is sort of the dead part of her. And then she meets Michiru and kind of opens up, and there's this really sweet friendship that happens. And then of course it kind of goes the way it goes. But I don't want to say like I had fun, because that's kind of weird to say that you had fun playing emotions that are hard and like kind of hurt, but it was a really good experience to be able to play a character that had such a wide range of emotions and feelings. Particularly there was a part, I can't remember, episode 10? It was either 10 or 11 where Nana's talking about her parents, and I actually ended up crying in the booth because I missed my parents. I hadn't gotten to see them for like 2 years.
Oh.
So when Nana was talking about her parents, I actually got really choked up and ended up crying. So I listened to that part and I was actually pretty proud of it, because it was acting, but it was like coming from a real place, and so I was really proud of that moment. So.
And what was it like being directed by Kevin?
He's great. Kevin's funny. He was really chill. He had an idea of what he wanted to do, and he just made me feel really comfortable in the booth, and like I could be an actor and focus on the scene. And we also had an engineer named Huli, and she was so cute and so nice. So yeah, I had a wonderful experience working with everyone.
Has there been any other roles so far that's gotten, of course, not to that same level, but more darker for you?
I think Nana's probably the darkest character I've ever played.
Yeah.
Like I said, most of the time I play like the sort of like mischievous, I call them like the stabby smalls. So that's like Fizel, Nifty. I play actually, I don't remember the character's name. Oh, Gemini in Phantasy Star Online too.
Yeah.
She's actually a cannibal, so that kind of got pretty dark. But yeah, so and Mirai Hatada in Crystar. That was like the first video game I booked, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, she was definitely a stabby small. But yeah, I think Nana's the darkest character that I've had to play. because like I said, her thought process was actually revenge and killing people because she hated them, whereas all the other ones were more like, I want to get my sister back, or
Yeah.
I am having fun, or I've been brainwashed since a 5-year-old, so I know nothing but this, so it was a challenge, but I had a lot of fun.
And who do you think you have the most affinity with characters you played so far?
My Melody, which is the complete opposite of
Yeah.
Nana. But yeah, my Melody is probably all of the good things about me plus anxiety.
Okay.
I had a lot of fun playing her. And I think maybe it's because I was playing her, but as the series progressed, she got more and more anxious. So yeah, I love my Melody. She's, probably the one I feel like is the closest to me.
And on the topic of Hello Kitty, was that a involved process to become a part of that?
Kind of. I actually received the audition after a friend recommended me for the project. And then I auditioned, and again, I was thinking, oh, they're not going to go with me because I'm me. And so then when I got the email, I actually cried because I
No.
was like, oh, it's me. So that one was really special. But then after I was cast, I recorded the entire series from home.
Okay.
In this booth here. And so it was really great to work on original animation because the major difference is that you can do what you want in the parameters of the script and what the director would like, but you don't have to worry about mouth flaps or timing. Like you can express yourself, you can add little fun sounds or add words or ad lib, and I love that part of original animation.
Choco Cat just given to you then, or?
Oh no, I auditioned for him too.
Okay.
But I didn't expect to get him because I haven't he's like the first boy character that I've played, and I've always wanted to play a boy character just because I don't know, there's sort of like this, I can't explain it really, but there's sort of like this sort of angry boy kind of connotation to the voice. Whenever I play boy characters, and so I wanted to be able to explore that side. So being able to voice Choco Cat was really fun because he's more of like the studious type. So yeah, it's really funny actually because there's a couple scenes where it's just me because I'm Choco Cat and my Melody. So I'm talking to myself, which was a goal on my which was a goal for me to be in a scene where I'm talking to myself. So that was really fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually did. I thought that the boy voice you did for your AX audition video was really impressive.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Actually, I feel like my boy voice is really just my normal voice, but I change where I place I was gonna say change the muscles in my face, but that's not, I can't do that, but that's kind of like how it is. It's like I just sort of changed the placement of my lips but it's my normal voice. It's like my normal tone, but I just bring it forward a little bit. So it's a very comfortable place for me.
Okay.
So
yeah.
that's why I was also really happy to be able to do that, because then it's like, oh, I don't have to go up into the stratosphere. I can just, stay in my normal voice and just pull it forward, and then I have a boy voice. So
So going back to video games, did you become involved with Trails or Disgaea first?
Trails first.
Okay.
Yeah, that was one of the first auditions that I received. And it was really interesting because when I first saw Milliam, her character art and everything, I was like, oh, I really love her. I would love to be her. So I auditioned. But then it said voice match. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to book this character. I don't even sound anything like this person. And then when I was cast, I was like, what? It was the same, what? But yeah, it was really interesting sort of coming into the role after Ashley Burt. She did an amazing job. And so I was kind of like, oh boy, I hope I do it justice, because I didn't want to, I was worried that the fans would be, kind of upset because they've had the same voice actors for 2 games. And then, here I come in to change it. So it's going to be a little jarring. And so I was a little worried, but the community was so nice and so welcoming. And I really appreciated that because I was baby voice actor back then. So I was really scared. So it was really nice that they were so welcoming.
And were you like a fan of the Disgaea series when you got the role too?
I actually didn't know anything about Disgaea before
Oh,
I got the audition. I'm I'm more of like a movie kind of person.
okay.
Like anime is like a second. I'm not very well versed in video games, but I'm trying to change that because I should know that because that's my job. But yeah, if anyone talks to me about movies, I'm like, oh, I know.
And just generally wondering what is the case where you've had to alter your voice the most for a role so far?
That's interesting. I don't know. Um, like I said, my boy voice is the closest to my normal voice. I think, strangely enough, like before I got into the industry and started to pursue voiceover, I was told by someone, or I read something somewhere that said you'll use your normal voice most of the time. No, not for me, because everybody wants this voice up here, where I probably change my voice the most. I know that when I get excited, my voice kind of gets higher, or I'm like hyper, then my voice does naturally go up there. But yeah, I think that the higher pitched is probably the most I have to change, or at least it sounds the most different from me.
Okay. And so with Demon Slayer, did you audition for like a lot of different characters?
Yeah, I auditioned for a couple characters, and then they cast me as Sumi, and it was really funny because there's like three of them, right? And so
Mm.
we had to say things in tandem, and there was a couple times where our voices blended so well it sounded like one person with a really loud voice. But it was really fun to be in scenes with Jackie and Kimberly.
And how'd you get involved playing Leaf and Pokemon?
See, that one was interesting because I actually booked that because I did another audition and the client liked that one, and then they brought me in.
Okay.
They like played, they said, here's your vocal rep. And I was like, I didn't audition for this character. And so they played the vocal rep, and then I was like, oh, I know what that is. And so then they sort of like worked with me there to get into what they wanted. And I was really nervous because it's Nintendo. So like I had to be professional, screaming inside my head, but quiet on the outside. And then there was one word that I kept having to say over and over again. I think it was coordinate, because I say coordinate, but they wanted me to say coordinate, like emphasize it a little bit
Yeah.
more. And I guess it's just I don't know, it was just what they wanted, but it was so weird because everything was like going smoothly, and then we spent like 5 minutes just saying coordinate. I was like, oh no, they're gonna fire me. I'm never gonna be hired again. So
Are you the kind of person that brings physicality to recording if it's necessary for the role?
oh, definitely. It's a lot easier when you're recording to use your body. Obviously, you can't move too much because if you do, then the swiping sounds or the movement of your clothes will get picked up on the microphone. So you have to like kind of make baby movements, but they definitely help a lot. Like if your character is lifting a heavy object, or or your character's throwing something, like tensing your muscles will really help give that a more authentic sound, as opposed to, okay, I'm going to try to make my voice sound like I'm throwing. Because if you like tighten up your muscles, then you already sound like there's, natural tension that you would have if you were actually, doing that in real life. So
Mhm.
that's very helpful.
Going back to a more serious or sort of serious role, it's cool seeing you be Chihiro in Gleipnir.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was so excited to play Chihiro because like she was, that sweet sort of endearing type of character, but then she kind of got a pro tag moment where she's like Super Saiyan fused
Yeah.
with the main character, and that was so fun. Like I didn't know that I could like scream like that. I didn't know that like there's a when she gets squished,
Mhm.
I did that scream, and then I was like, oh, like it surprised me. And so yeah, it was so much fun, especially to work adjacent Rai, because he's such an amazing actor. everyone at Sound Cadence was like really, really nice. It was just so cool to be a part. I'm always happy when I'm a part of projects where there's other, you know, really talented actors, because it's, you know, just this like this big creative thing. Words are hard, but it's just really nice to be a part of that, because I always love learning and listening to other people's performances and being like, oh, that's how they said the line, or wow, that's a really interesting interpretation. I'm going to put that in my back pocket. So yeah, it was really fun.
Mm-hmm. This is like not as serious, but Katerina art.
Yeah, Katharina. She was so fun because she's one of the snarky characters. I love playing snarky characters because I consider myself a very quiet, like non-confrontational person in real life. And so being able to play a character that was freely able to be like, excuse me, or you know, like that was really fun and freeing. I love her because she's not just, you know, this snarky little child for a reason. Like it's from past hurt, and so she's doing it as a defense mechanism. And I don't know, I just really understood and related to that. And so she was a really fun character to bring nuance to.
Mm. And who do you think you can personally relate to the most with who you played so far?
Probably Belle in Vindictus, just because I feel, well, because she's snarky. See, I love the snarky character. But she's like really powerful, like unnecessarily. She's very short, but she has this giant axe and she's swinging it around. And then she's been cursed to not age. So she's probably like, I don't remember the exact age, like 1,000+ years or whatever. But she flip flops between like, oh, don't do that, I'm just a kid, and hey, don't treat me like a kid, I'm older than you. Like she switches between that, and that's something that I kind of feel like I relate to because like just personally in my life, a lot of people sort of like treat me like a kid, and I think that I just sort of felt that way of growing up in childhood, from childhood, that, you know, since I'm kind of more like childlike, that I feel people sort of maybe treat me like a kid, and yet, you know, I want to be, you know, treated like an adult. And so it was just sort of an interesting dynamic that I related to personally. And again, she was snarky. She had really fun lines to say.
And I know in Yashahime that you got to be the baby Hisui too. Was that just like making like baby vocalizations?
Yeah, that was really fun because that was the first time I've gotten to do that. But I did that in one take and I was totally out of breath, but it added, I think, to the whole, like, because when babies cry, they actually very often run out of breath there, because they're so upset. And so it sort of, I felt like, added to the authenticity because I was actually running out of air, but I was like, no, I gotta keep going because he's still crying. And I don't want to do it again because it's an ab workout. It's like so, it hurts to do it too much. So yeah.
And it was cool to see you be in Vanitas too, Katherine.
That was, it was, the director was so sweet. But yeah, I like, I don't know, I kind of like playing roles that sort of have this duality of, oh, they're sweet, but wait, there's more. Because it's just fun to play characters that have layers.
Yeah, the way that my final question is usually always asking, what do you want your legacy to be?
Hey, that's a hard question. About it for a second. Okay. My legacy. Well, I know just in general, outside of voice acting, I would really like to leave the world a better place. I want to leave the world a better place than I found it, or than when I was brought into it. So that's something that I try to do. I don't know. I'd really like to just encourage people to you know, follow their passions and try for it. Like, it's not guaranteed that what you want is going to happen, but you might as well go for it, because what else are you going to do with your life? You know, you might as well aim for what you want, and if you find out that it's not exactly, you know, what you expected, then you still grew and learned about yourself, and that's really important. So I don't know. I guess I just would like to inspire people, like touch people's hearts somehow, like from a performance or some other thing where people go, you know what? I really relate to that. And they can help other people, you know, with their understanding of themselves. I guess I'd like to help people, you know, if maybe like my performance or me being me help someone discover who they are, then that would be like the greatest honor ever. So yeah, just kind of want to help people, I guess.
I did want to ask too, what was it always a like dream for you too to write your own stories and like become an author too?
Oh, um, yeah, I've had the book that I'm working on. I've had that idea since I was 16. The characters have obviously changed and grown as I have, but yeah, it's a story that I've wanted to tell for a long time, and it's okay if it's not like super popular, or people don't really like it, but I really felt like it was a story that I wanted to tell. And I actually started writing it in the middle of COVID because I was like, I'm not dying without publishing a book. This is not happening. So I was kind of writing it in frantic, like, I gotta hurry, kind of thing. And then also it really helped me process my grandmother's death because she passed away. And focusing on my book helped me sort of like keep my mind off of that, but, you know, kind of process that. So that was helpful to have that. But yeah, this book is, I'm like excited and nervous at the same time because I'm excited because I love it because there's puns everywhere, like and wordplay, and because I feel like that would probably be my trademark as an author is weird wordplay everywhere because I just see it all the time. So I'm like, I'll just put it in my book. But I'm also nervous because when you're a writer, whether you want to or not, I guess it's like acting, but it's a little more personal when you're writing because you're creating everything. Whether you like it or not, your soul kind of goes into it. And so there's, you know, nuances and maybe things you didn't know about yourself that end up on the page, and other people are going to read it and they're going to be like, oh, I see. Michelle is this type of person. So it's a little like nerve-wracking, but I think that it's important to, you know, be authentic and tell your stories because they're your stories, and if you don't tell them, who else will?
And do you still actively pursue singing just as equally too?
I should probably get back on the bandwagon for that. I've kind of fallen off of singing just because I've been focusing so much on voiceover. I know when I was a kid I wanted to be a singer, but then voice acting kind of took over that, and that became my true passion. So I still like singing, and I've done a little bit like in Cells at Work, although I don't know if it's really singing, it's more just like talking in rhythm. But I played a little, it's so hard to say, black lactic acid bacterium, and he said "Mew." So that was really fun. That was cute to be able to do that. But yeah, I'd love to do more singing, but I think I need to get in gear and do more practice.
Well, thanks. I'm glad that we got to do this.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And
Yeah,
thanks
you too.
for having me.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.